It was the European Yuki Gassen Championship. That's competitive snowball fighting.
It's an excitingly eccentric event and should be a great test for my 3 cameras.
First, I wanted to test the camera's usability. The opening ceremony was a riot of colour and action, which combined with the bright snow would really push the cameras to the limit. I began with the Fuji F100. And compared to previous compact Fujis, all the numbers have got bigger. This one's got a massive 12 megapixels and a 5 times optical zoom. But there are some downsides.
Now, when your fingers are like frozen ice lollies, you're not going to appreciate the Fuji's complex menu system as ever. They've incorporated all the functions in several menus. Now, if you wanted, say, to change any manual settings, you've got to hit this menu button here and whiz round until you find manual, and then go again to change the settings into another menu here, which you might want to also go into a further subsidiary setup menu.
As the parade arrived at what would soon be the snowballing battleground, I moved on to testing Panasonic's 9.1 megapixel DMC-TZ5. Initially, it had some trouble focusing, but I found the solution in its features list.
Now, I never thought I'd find face recognition useful on a camera, really, but it's certainly proving handy on this Panasonic in these conditions, because if you switch the focus onto face detection, it actually focuses on the faces rather than the snow, which it tends to do otherwise.
Finally, I got to grips with the 10 megapixel Ricoh R8, while the teams prepared for battle by making their snowballs. They took this alarmingly seriously, with special frames to compress the snow for a harder impact. The Ricoh's clear menu system meant I could get some really intimate shots without faffing about.
But it's not all good news. The screen quality is probably the worst of the 3. It's less detailed, it's darker. It's very hard to tell whether you've got the right exposure or the right white balance. The colours look really grim. I hope in reality they're better than this.
Next, I wanted to see how they handled action. The battle was about to begin, and my camera's video and action stills performance would be critical. The fun was over. This was serious. 18 teams from all over Europe, but there could only be one winner. The rules were simple. If you hit, you're off. As the players unleashed snowy carnage, with balls flying everywhere, I was snapping away with the 3 cameras. First in line again was the Fuji. The Fuji's snow mode adjusted settings well, making sure that the bright snow didn't cause faces to look underexposed. I then switched to continuous shooting mode, which takes a series of pictures in rapid sequence. In theory, anyway.
Now, the problem with this continuous shooting mode on the Fuji is that it's so slow, it takes so long between shots, the chances of your shot coinciding with any of the action are pretty slim, really.
The video quality was reasonable for a compact camera, but had a slightly stuttery Saving Private Ryan look, and it was let down by the lack of in-video zoom. To zoom, you have to stop recording, zoom in, and start recording again.
Can't zoom in on the action.
By now, the snowball fighting had moved on to the quarter-finals, and I moved on to the Panasonic. In standard mode, it was doing a rather good job, but in continuous shooting mode, it was struggling to find focus. The Panasonic's video, though, was really very smooth.
The Panasonic has lots of video options. It's got widescreen, high definition even, and you can zoom in and out while you're filming. Also, you can access all the options very easily using this quick menu.
Lastly, the Ricoh. The Ricoh's colour balance was pretty dodgy, making skin tones seem too pink. But now we're in the semis, the pace of the game was flying, and the Ricoh's response speed excelled when catching those crucial action shots. The continuous mode was also the best by far. The video, however, was another story.
Video isn't too hot on the Ricoh. It zooms in, but in steps. And also, it looks like a digital zoom. If you want to capture that full resolution, you've got to switch it off and start again on the tighter setting, which is all a bit laborious.
Norway and Finland made it to the final, but which of my cameras would be a winner?
All these compact cameras have their good points, but the one that stands out for me is the Panasonic, and that's the one I'm going to use to shoot the final.
Nordic rivalry assured that the final was a classic. Norway looked slightly shaky at the outset, but they fought back fiercely while I snapped away with the Panasonic. As the Finns grew more hot-headed, they fell one by one to the Norwegians' lightning-fast balls. So, Norway won out in the snowball fight, and the Panasonic won out in my testing.